as a man, when you are in good shape and you feel good about your body, you just walk different.
Hello and welcome to the Stand Up Dude podcast. I'm Stewart White, along with our host,
Tim Bisagno.
Tim, how are you doing today?
Mighty fine. I try to vary those each time. I hope that's working. As far as variation,
I mean, variety is the spice of life. So.
It is.
Who is this?
This is Jason. Oh, geez, Jason. Hold on, we're starting again.
Yeah,
you can't mess up. I was thinking Jay Slay. I'm like,
oh, you just keep it in there, man.
Okay, so we're keeping it?
Oh, yeah, dude.
Jeremy Slayden.
That's your character.
I know the guys. Hello. Your name. Hello.
Dude, there's probably been
Jeremy Slayden
on my own podcast where I've forgotten my guest name.
Yeah, dude.
And I've had to stop and start. And then, I just kept it and we laughed.
Good.
The audience loved it.
Oh, well,
authenticity's key, right?
They love
Heck,
it.
Yeah. Well,
we'll do a whole episode of just bloopers.
Okay.
I think that it'll be so
All I could
authentic.
think of was Jay Slay, which is cool. Jay Slay, USA. Hey, that rings a bell.
It's Jeremy, nice to meet you.
Jeremy, nice to meet you, Jeremy.
Stewart, nice to meet you.
So, man, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you.
dude. We stayed on you. He's had a lot of stuff happening, a lot of very big things, good things, a lot of changes. We stayed on because I just wanted him to be a guest big time. Just don't know how else to say it. Can't wait for you guys to hear his insight and principles that he's learned with working with men. Just literally can't wait. So let's start with this.
Jeremy, welcome to the show. I want to give a quick bio on you. Jeremy, you're a local guy, first of all.
Yes.
Tennessee.
Yep.
You have, from your early days, you have been a professional baseball player. You've done a lot of things, really.
Okay, stop. For who?
I was with the Phillies for 6 years, all minor leagues though. So let's not.
Okay.
Got to AAA.
Okay.
That's pretty darn good.
Two more A's than I thought of.
Yeah, more A's than I've ever had myself. So you've gone through addiction recovery. You have done entrepreneurship. You've been a men's health coach. Started a men's health coaching service. Mm-hmm. And then you have your own podcast. You've worn a lot of hats, including Little League coach for your kids right now.
That's
Is that
right.
correct?
Yep.
Yeah. And then part-time.
Probably more fun and more pressure than any of those other.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
I know how it feels in the stands.
I'll tell you, a 7-year-old Little League around here
it's hardcore.
It's hardcore.
Yeah. In addition to all that, you're a bit of a part-time historian too. So I think I have an affinity with that. Yes. I can say I love history. So, but then your personal focus, it's on finding the right balance in life. And then you're a dedicated family man, and as illustrated by your coaching your kids and everything else. But you also successful roofing sales, creative force behind Jay Slay USA. That's a podcast we mentioned earlier.
This is a lot.
I know. Hold on.
No, I like it. It's a compliment, actually.
Yeah. Well, so in a world filled with uncertainty, both globally and close to home, Jeremy believes there's never been a more crucial time for men to step up and become the unwavering foundations their families and communities need. That's why he's a great fit for this podcast right now. You know?
I'd have driven him over here myself if I had to.
Yeah, but your conviction is that transformation starts mind, body, and soul. And then, so really, are men present mentally? Are they truly engaged with their wives and their children?
Right.
Are they living with purpose or just drifting through life? And then, where is their spirit? Is it connected to God for strength or lost somewhere out there in the void or in avoidance of reality?
That's right, yeah.
Man, incredible.
You also cover the physical side of it, which is awesome. You got the fitness part. Are men ready to be strong, to be protectors, to fight for what is right? That's a big part of it. You know, this is an aside, but I love some of the prepper community and that sort of stuff. But it is a common thing they talk about where they say you get over prepped in one area. So it's like, I've got tons of beans, but I'm really out of shape. You know,
Right.
That is the common thing. It's like, I got all of the camo gear and everything, but I can't put my belt on.
Yeah.
So fitness, that is so important. you believe there's a connection between all of that, right? There's that mind, body, soul, everything is in there. It's a very biblical thing too. So we want to talk about all that with you today. It's super cool. Yeah.
I've got 3 hours only.
Yeah. If ever.
Well, but don't screw it up. Wow.
I think we're both really excited to have you on the show because I think these are topics that the guys who listen to our show need to hear and want to hear. So welcome again to the show.
Well, thanks again for having me.
Yeah, man. It's super cool. Well, Tim.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit of backstory here.
Sure. So I met Jeremy at church. We went to a retreat together, a men's thing over in they're called the Refuge. Was it Wyoming?
Montana,
exactly. It was so great. And
did you catch any fish out there?
I caught one. My wife went 3 months later and caught 3. So there's that.
You both beat me.
Yeah. And she loved meeting your mom, man. Your mom was one of her favorite people the whole trip.
That's awesome.
But basically, there's something that just I see in Jeremy. I love his athleticism. I love his focus. I love his energy. I love his love for Jesus. I love his love for his family. I love his love for purpose. I just really connect with that. So, Jeremy, you've got your own podcast. You've been here before. We talked about the things that I would like to expound on, the men's piece. So you've mentioned the warrior mind, body, soul. So let's start with something that is going to help explain what exactly that means. I guess we'll start with warrior. What the heck do you mean? Have you been in the military? No, really. Let's go. Let's hear it.
Well, I mean, anytime you're striving to do something great, to excel at something, even if it's being a father, but for me, in a very practical way, back in the day, it was being an athlete. I wanted to be the best baseball player that I could be.
Heck yeah.
And
what position?
By the time I was pro, it was exclusively outfield. So right or left field.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. I was a hitter.
No, nice. They found a place for you because you were a hitter.
And I was a pretty good outfielder. I wasn't the fastest guy.
Yeah.
The teams would make fun of me sometimes saying I wasn't as quick as the center field a lot of times.
Yeah,
but I could track it down. If it was hitting my general vicinity, I would catch it.
Okay.
All right.
That'll work. I played center field only. That's the only position I ever played.
Speed then, right?
Yeah, I was. Yes, sir. Yeah. I love center field.
But to the point, when it came to baseball, if I want to be the best at that. Well, I've got to be in physical shape, good shape, right?
Yeah.
Second, my mind needs to be clear. I don't need to be thinking about all this other stuff going on. I'll be locked in the zone of what I'm doing at that moment, right? And then lastly, for a Christian man who's doing it, spiritually, if you're disconnected from God, it can throw off those other two things quickly. But when you're in tune with the Lord, walking in step with the Spirit, you have this energy that's different. You want to go work out. You want to go be at your best. So those three things do work together. It works together if you're a little league coach, a roofing salesman. I still got tar on my hands right now.
Love it.
But yes, and if one of those things is lacking, it will hold you back. Even if you're in the Word every day and you feel close to the Lord spiritually, if you feel sloppy and you don't feel good about yourself as a man, it's going to hold you back.
Man, dude,
so there's truly a connection there. And
I'm putting this in a book like tonight.
Yeah.
This is great. Let's go.
Idea, dude. Maybe I need to write the book.
Okay.
Great idea, man.
You're gonna write the Jeremy biography for him, and then
no, he's gonna take all the rights to the curriculum and go make the money because I didn't. No, but I used to put MBS on my hat. I put mind, body, soul. I'd write the 3 words just as a reminder. I want my mind to be sharp, mental clarity. I want to be physically fit at my best, and then I want to be spiritually grounded.
Yeah.
I don't want to be flighty,
Love
it. In a general sense, that is where it came from. That's where the idea came from, after my sports career ended. But I'll tell you, when the sports career came to an abrupt halt and I was this close to making it to the major leagues, which was my childhood dream.
Of course.
Almost did it, man.
Of course.
So I'm 29 years old and I found myself with basically a broken back. I had a disc that was gone, that required a pretty major surgery. I was in constant pain. I didn't have my identity of baseball anymore. And all of a sudden I get this highfalutin sales job in Atlanta, which is my old college stomping grounds, it was a recipe for disaster if I didn't stay connected, and I didn't. I didn't stay connected to other men. I sort of isolated, right?
Oh, okay. I was going to say you something similar happened to me, and it was I played a little college football, and it was when I stopped, I had so much time on my hand, and my focus as a child had been met, and I made it, and I didn't like it, and then I went to a different school, and that's when my addictions and things like that started. So let's
it's that kind of those in between times where God can either really take you to the next level because he's always preparing us for something. But it was one of those in between times where I was hurting, but rather than going back to the source of goodness, truth, love, the Father and others, I isolated and I did my own thing, and I got addicted to several things. And we can talk about some of that if you want to, but out of that experience, because I have victory over so many of those things now. True victory.
Awesome, man.
That was when I decided, man, other people need to feel that, to come from a very dark place where the world feels very small. And when you're addicted to stuff, your world is small because it's all about that one thing, So I went through that process in my life. I got honest. And coming out the backside of that was kind of where the idea for Warrior hit. And I thought, man, I want to be able to share these things.
Really cool.
Really cool. Great introduction. Geez, I'm not sure where to start.
Just pick one.
Well, okay. Let's literally let's break down each four. What is Warrior? What is that? Basically, what you just explained?
Yeah. I had a men's program that I created.
Yeah, sure.
So I developed a curriculum. I was out on a walk one night. I'd been 10 years in a successful roofing career, but that was that period of time where God was helping me get out of this dark place that I had been in.
Where does the Warrior piece fit in? What does that look like?
Well, to me, Warrior is the umbrella branding over those things.
That's what I thought you were responding to.
If you want to be a real warrior in your life, you want to have the mental clarity, you want to be physically fit, and you want to be your soul grounded and connected, not isolated.
Okay.
So Warrior is the umbrella term.
Okay. Yeah, I totally understand that. Yeah. So let's go to mind.
Yeah.
What's that about? What have you learned when men come into your group? I've learned when you're in your head, you're dead. Many men live in their head. They check out that way. They solve, and they end up being emotionally not present.
Yeah.
So what is this mind piece that you have seen men come in with, and how have you helped them?
Yeah. Well, a lot of guys, this may sound counterintuitive, but when you're in the college age or you're in the locker room and you're all striving for something together, you've got connection and you've got competition, and it makes men's mind sharp. But what do we lose when we get past our college career or past those youthful days where we're striving for something and maybe whatever it was as a kid didn't happen, and now we've got a job and a family and the stresses and pressures of that? Sometimes you lose that sense of camaraderie, competition, those kind of things. So men many times join the program because they wanted that. They're not getting it anywhere else. Yeah. They can go hire a personal trainer, which gives them an aspect of it, but it's not really like a group of friends, that camaraderie I'm talking about.
Yeah.
This is a group of men that for 60 days, when we had the program, they wanted to come together and strive for something together, but also competing with each other. Okay. And I think that's one of the number one mental clarifiers that can get people on point. And I'll tell the guys early on, it's hard. This is going to be hard.
Men do hard things.
Yeah,
We're built
we
to
need
do
to,
that. And when we don't, we can get soft.
And there's other components to it as well. In our day and age, everything from the skillets we eat off of to all the seed oils and foods, all of these different things that I think that are kind of an international plot, not to sound, completely conspiratorial, to weaken men. A lot of the transgenderism that's going on, that's become so rampant, not just the ideology of it, because there's a big push where it's not even real, but they're just pushing it, cramming it down kids' throats. But there's also
it's one of the big reasons why we're here today.
There's also all these chemicals that we are getting from even the wrong kinds of clothing, foods. So there was a part of the program that delved into that and said, here's the things we really as men need to stay away from.
Far out.
Because it's giving us brain fog, that afternoon brain fog.
Oh yeah.
So we want to get rid of that.
Stewart doesn't know anything about it.
It's 24/7.
Is it? I was going to say the opposite. He's always just ready to go.
Ready to go.
Sharp, man. So, okay. So mind, it sounds like you've kind of now transitioned into the body. You've got your seed oils and you got your polyesters, which we're pretty much all wearing today, and things like that. Let me say this, first of all, guys. This program that he's mentioning is not happening at this moment. Okay. He'll tell a story about that in a minute. Lord's doing a lot of cool things in him. So instead of Googling it right now, just stay real present with us and listen and hear the things that I'm assured that you're going to connect with. Then we hope to one day announce, hey, we're working with Jeremy or somebody just like him. It looks exactly like him. He smells just, no, just
we
kidding.
cloned him.
That we can offer something like this in Stand Up Dude. So just wanted to throw that out there. So body is tell me what you teach there.
Yeah, well, let me talk about how body is connected to mind.
Oh, okay, I love it.
You wake up in the morning, the two paths here. You wake up in the morning, you feel kind of sluggish, you have some breakfast, you go plop down in a chair and you start working, right?
Yeah.
That's one way of starting your day.
Okay.
Another way of starting your day is you wake up in the morning, you go outside on your deck, have a black coffee, and go take a sprint in the cold in the wintertime around your neighborhood.
Barefooted or in the grass,
No,
grounding.
we don't get hurt. We don't get hurt.
Okay. I didn't know if it was a grounding thing. So
You could, but I think
sprint, literally, in the morning.
a good hard run.
A good hard run.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't want to hurt anybody. There was all ages in the program, but a lot of time, jog, run. Jog, run, walk. Jog, run, walk. For a mile or so. I'm just giving an example.
Okay.
You get back and then you have a call of 10 to 15 minute call that morning with some other dudes. You pray together. Then
Cool.
you start your day.
Far out.
Where are you going to feel more mentally clear? Which path?
That one or just slogging out of bed and sitting in front of the
Just
computer.
plopping. See, there's the computer screen. Boom.
Exactly. I'll take choice number 2.
Yep. Choice number 2. That's right.
Yeah.
Oxygen, blood flow.
Yes. And so there's a connection between body and soul. And all of a sudden, there's a 2-week hump. So as guys are getting over the brain fog and they're eating better foods, more all natural foods, the kind of foods that the disciples would have eaten back in those days, right?
Okay.
Not a lot of processed or packaged stuff.
Mediterranean diet.
Yeah. Well, there wasn't anything coming out of a bag. Nothing.
Right.
Right. There's about 2 weeks where it's going to hurt. You're going to feel like, you're not going to feel like yourself. You're taking those quick dopamine hits of the bag of chips and other stuff and filling it with natural things that are going to give you energy throughout the day. But I tell them there's a 2-week hump. Tell your wife you may be in a bad mood, but once you get over that hump, you're going to have a new energy, a long lasting energy. And almost to a man, it would happen. I mean, so many guys lost weight. So many guys changed their shape. Yeah. It was an awesome program. And like you said, I do hope that it comes back. But the point I think you're wanting to make is the physical side of it. As a man, when you are in good shape and you feel good about your body, you just walk different. You pray different. You think different.
You do.
Everything's different.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
That's for sure.
So every time I find myself in a sloggy area of work, it can last 3 months, it can last 7 or 8. And if I will start moving my body, if I'll start working out, it's the craziest thing. I find myself reading the Bible more in the morning, and I also see the nose of the ministry or the business or whatever, all those sides that it takes begins to come up. Yes. And I really honestly have nothing to point to other than the grace of God would be that I began to move my body and I got in the Word in the morning. It's magic.
It changes things. You become a problem solver instead of a complainer. Like there's just all like you'll see things that normally would distress you or bother you.
Yeah.
And then you, as a man, you see it as a challenge. And it's like, okay, I can attack this coworker issue, this discrepancy.
Yeah.
You feel confident. I'm just going to address this head on. I'm going to go talk to that person. I'm not going to go talk behind their back. So I'm trying to draw those connections between mind, body, soul, raising the level of your life. Okay. And this is, by the way, I want to say, this is a great reminder for me because having, I had a bike injury 3 months ago that was pretty bad, had 2 MRIs yesterday, knee and shoulder. And, it would be very easy for me right now to kind of, what was the word you used earlier? Slog?
Slog.
Yes,
Just slogging.
It's a great word. Yeah, go slogging for a month or two.
Yeah.
Start drinking, start doing stuff because maybe nobody knows. You go down that path, it's never just 2 months. It's like a year,
Yeah.
And then you look back, you're like, what was I doing?
Well, it's the same thing I did 2 years ago, and it ended up the same way.
That's right.
Why did I do that?
It's a great reminder and a sharpener today to be here with you. So thank you.
Oh, man. Heck yeah. Thank you.
You're a stand-up dude, too.
Oh, well, I appreciate it.
That's true.
Had to call it something. So
Yeah.
but thank you. I appreciate that a lot. I'm really connecting with really everything you've said. So should we go to soul now?
Sure.
Okay.
And I think, for Christians, this one should be rather obvious that this should be the foundational part of all of it.
Yep.
Right.
I agree.
So, if you are getting in the word, if you are filling yourself with the Spirit, connecting with other men and other women that are, connected to God, it's going to raise everything. To me, the three things are just completely connected.
Okay. How does a man feed his soul? What would you recommend? Because you've worked around them.
Yeah.
You have three pieces you're mentioning. Just speak from your heart. Tell me what you're telling them from the soul level there.
Yeah. For me, the number one thing is getting honest, being honest about exactly where you're at with God, with your wife, and with other men. I think that's because if you're coming from a dishonest place in your life, everything else is not going to be real. The foundations of what you're talking about are going to crumble.
Yeah.
What I'm saying, as you build something up, if you don't have this honest place, like here's where I'm really at, here's what I'm really dealing with, here's who I really am, there's going to be a counterfeit to all of it. And I think that's what God is asking of us is just be real with me.
Yeah.
Where are you at really? Yeah. And so many of, me included, when we're running, escaping from maybe what God wants for us in our life, we hide from him, and there's just this hollow feeling inside, this feeling of emptiness. And a lot of the guys that came into the program were dealing with that, and it took usually 3-4 weeks, and pretty soon, hey, let's talk. I gotta ask you about something. And then truth in their life about whether it be an addiction. It doesn't always have to be an addiction. It's an easy one to talk about. Right. But you would see them open up at a new level, and that's when these relationships got deeper, and it even became more fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Well, because you're operating from a soul level. That's where we're actually meant to operate on, and I think when we're living dishonestly would be anti-intuitive to the soul. It leans towards walking around a little bit as a zombie. Yeah, physically, mentally, and birthed from the unfortunate not being honest, not being truthful from your soul. Yeah. I think when that is taken care of, I think it does the mind-body alignment. It's a beautiful trinity there. Yeah. But wow, without that piece, it feels a little bit like a zombie, walking around numb.
To me too, like earlier I talked about the connection between just the physical and the mind. Like go take a lap around the neighborhood on a cold morning, and you're gonna think more clear. But you also, it does something to me spiritually where I feel more connected, more ready to connect with God after I've pushed myself a little bit. Maybe that's just me. I don't think so. There's a spiritual clarity. I think that's why Paul said, I beat my body, I make it my slave. Yeah. Why would he talk about that? But there is something that God has put in us as men, I think, when we're pushing ourselves physically, that we're going to want to push ourselves spiritually as well, in a good way.
Right. I think because it trains you to do the hard stuff. Yeah. Yeah. I like lifting heavy weights. Yeah. And hard things. And doing hard things. And it makes me ready to do other hard things. The tenacity that builds in transfers into strength in all areas. We say on our website that gravity is fierce. that there's always going to be things attempting to pull us down. And when just by the resistance of weight, the resistance of mental fortitude that can be literally, I'd hate to get back to it so simply, but just physically being physical helps us in all of those areas. It literally trains us to do the hard things.
Yep.
It keeps us more ready. It keeps us more ready. I love what you said at the introduction about it. It helps you even having difficult conversations instead of putting them off. It readies you. And I think you even referred to that in the context of the morning routines. It just gets you ready when you are ready to get to work. You're ready to take on the day and do the difficult things and have those conversations that you would really rather put off.
Yeah. What does the Bible say about he flees when no one pursues?
Ooh.
Like a man that lives in fear, right?
Yeah.
That's what because I may not have made the point very good when you said, what about the soul? That's what I mean by honesty or dishonesty.
Okay.
If you're living from a dishonest place, you always have this foreboding feeling.
Yeah.
You walk around with it.
Yeah.
Right.
You got to hide.
And therefore, even if the coworker example, even if your issue with them or their issue with you has nothing to do with what you're being dishonest about, you are not going to be able to present yourself in the same way to that person.
Yeah.
So therefore, and you know it, so you're going to want to stay away from it. You're not going to want to have the conversation. But if you feel confident, if you got nothing to hide, it still may be a hard conversation, but you're going to be able to be the man you need to be in the conversation. And many times you have, and you're like, that was easy.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even realize that they were feeling the way they were feeling. This turned out great.
Yeah.
And you become buddies. That kind of thing happens all the time.
Love it. That honesty piece is huge. I've had difficult conversations recently where I've entered them without a end result per se in mind. I mentioned this the other day. When you have a conversation with somebody, you'd like to lead them towards this decision that you have finalized in your mind as the result.
Yeah, right.
But if you can have more of a conversation about it, you can still have your gracious and even semi-firm decision made of where you would like this go. But the openness, man, if you're not ready for that and show up with that love and that graciousness, it ends up being a dissertation, instead of a conversation.
That's right.
And they're going to feel it big time.
Yeah.
What do you feel is like the main, if there were only one of those to either start with or the most critical?
Yeah.
Where would you advise guys to go?
Yeah. Well, all of life is spiritual.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I mean, we got to go back to the origin of our souls, our creator. So I would say the spiritual component is first and foremost.
Yeah.
And the physical body, the mental clarity, those are outgrowths of the spiritual. Now you could be a very, G.K. Chesterton, for instance,
Very
real
out of
heavy
shape.
set guy, cigar in his mouth all the time. He was a picture of maybe spiritually really in tune, could write amazing books. But the physical piece, he didn't have it. But I think many times it works the other way, where if you are spiritually aligned, if you're being honest in your life, showing up, it's going to show itself in your physical appearance and in your mental clarity as well. So I would start with the spiritual.
Yeah.
And that, again, getting back to when I talked about honesty earlier, am I really being an authentic human being, an authentic husband and father? Or do I got all these skeletons I'm trying to hide? Yeah. Right. That is a spiritual choice, but it's going to affect your mental clarity big time.
I almost look at it like, like when an animal gets their leg caught in a trap or something. Yeah. And the person who's trying to come and help them, they often end up attacking the person, or let's say you're just there to try and help this animal. Even if it's a household dog, they often will confuse that, well, this hurts, and so I'm protecting it, but they're really not protecting themselves. They're making it worse. And I feel like that's so many men, we don't want to be honest with ourselves. We want to just put up a good front. Everything's fine. Don't look at the leg caught in the trap. But then when somebody gets a little too close to it, we snap and we attack, and we're toxic. We're not healthy.
Well, that's why we isolate. Because we don't want anybody to see that our legs in the trap.
Interesting.
Man. It's so
golly, that hurt.
everybody can relate to that.
I mean, that goes back to the garden. You know, you got Adam, and they knew what they'd done, right? So they were hiding from the Lord. He knew where they were, but they were hiding because that's our number one instinct. As men.
When God asked Adam, I may butcher this a tiny bit. I apologize, but he asked, "Where is Adam?" And God knew where Adam was. But the point was that he wanted Adam to know where Adam was, that he was apart from God. I think that's a beautiful piece, and man, it just kind of wrecked me a little bit. Hiding when you get to a place where you're afraid to show your vulnerability. Man, daggum, that right there is a huge piece of isolation, of depression, basically just hiding. But I really appreciate you saying that. Tell me, Jeremy, what do you do when you are hiding because you are afraid to be vulnerable? Because the gift of the vulnerability, there's many gifts that come with that. But how do you get there? What would you tell a guy that
Let
hides?
me give a personal example.
Okay,
right?
Please.
When I was in my darkest place, when I was hiding the most, I mean, it's like, I think back to the years between 2015 and 18. And it's just like one big cloudy rainy day. It's a blur. I was addicted. I was making money and using that as a shield, so people thought I was okay. And it was rough. And I did things that I'm terribly ashamed of. Terribly ashamed of. And I got with a counselor first, and I had a group of men helping me. So I got with a group of men that also had that same problem. And then I got with a personal counselor. I'm not saying that everybody has to do this, but somebody had to know. I was dealing with
that's
this
a good
first,
start,
right? Even if, and it had to be a safe group, because ultimately for me, the person this was going to hurt the most was my wife, who I loved. I loved her, but I was an addict, you know? And through a process of me getting honest with the other men first, and also way down the road of, I want to be careful with that.
Okay.
I was way down the road of solving the problem, but I wouldn't want that to stop somebody from being honest in terms of, if you go to your significant other, or you go to the person that your disease or your addiction is going to hurt the most, but you're not truly ready to change, you could end that relationship. Because they may give you one shot and then you're going to blow it. But I was committed to, it was kind of like, you know, if you'll do anything, if you're willing to do anything, you can overcome this. And I had to get to that point.
Okay.
I would rather die than stay in that.
How did you get there? That's a magic question to me. How did you get to where you were ready 100%, that when you...
I saw how deeply my sins were hurting people.
Okay. You felt that.
I felt it from them.
From them.
Yes. Jobby, it was a sexual addiction. And I was never one of those. I was never a strip club guy. I was never that guy. Okay. And then one time, on 1 week moment, I went into one in Atlanta. And pretty soon, I mean, it's pornography brought to life, you know?
Yeah.
But I am a Christian. Here I am a married man. And I remember one girl, I said, I want you to know you're a real person. Because I still had the depth of soul. I saw this pain in her eyes.
Oh, yeah.
So I want you to know you're a real person. And she broke down.
Gosh.
And said, I've never had anybody say that to me. Oh. And I realized, like, here I am. I'm a part of the problem. Wow. And there were a few moments like that crushed me. And then there was one, well, you have these moments where God also scares you. And you're like, oh my God, like I could lose everything. Everything that I value in my life, I could lose it. And I didn't want that. So you asked the question, what got you to the point of being willing to do anything? Yeah. Seeing that kind of pain and also knowing what the cost was going to be. Okay. And I had also gotten myself around the other men that had gone further than I had gone. Okay. And they had lost everything. They were still alive. They're still kicking, but they're 20 years older than me. And they said, Jeremy, you keep going, you'll be where I am. Wow. You may still be a good man, but you'll have lost everything and you'll have to start over. Dang. And I didn't want that. So to go back to the original question of the story of how does one get honest or be honest. The beautiful thing is there were 12 men approximately. I think it was 12. I asked all 12 of them, should I tell my wife everything? 6 of them said no. And these are men I like, trust, and respect, Christian men. 6 of them said, no, you don't go there. No, not to that depth. The other 6 said, yeah, you do. And I went to, I went to my counselor, who I really respect a lot. And I said, Monty, like, what do you think? He's like, if you want a real marriage, if you want to go to your grave with her knowing you, really knowing you, you got to tell her. And so when the time was right, I was scared to death. We sat on the couch and I told her everything, and with my counselor there.
Oh, wow.
And it was,
you racked him up. It was
hard. And I told him before, I was like, I'm going to say everything except for these 2 things. I won't tell her these 2.
Okay.
And I sat on that couch and she, I told her everything.
Yeah.
Even the 2 things.
Yeah, even the 2.
That were horrible. And our marriage, I mean, it was hard. Don't get me wrong. For a year, it was hard, and there's still traces and shadows that come back, and she'll have a bad moment or a bad day, or I will, not with the addiction, but with thinking about the hardness of that. Dude, our marriage is unbelievably good.
Right.
Like, husband, father, the kids, like, what am I most happy with in my life right now?
Yeah.
My family life.
Yeah.
My marriage, my wife, she's awesome.
Yeah.
And she stuck it out and she believed in me. And I think the only reason that she believed in me was because I told her the truth. And she knew, like, he was willing to risk it all. I'm not bragging on me right now. Trust me.
You're giving me the answer.
This is something I'm ashamed of.
Yeah.
But I am, praise God, happy that telling her the truth did not result in the end of it all. It wasn't the brick wall. I thought this could be the end.
Yeah.
And instead, God gave me a gift, said, no, this is the beginning.
Yeah.
So how do you get on? I mean, it's hard to be honest. Was that even your original question?
No, yeah. It's great. It's fantastic.
That's so good.
Yes,
that
very, very much answering
me,
it.
As a grown man past the baseball life and all that stuff, that was the beginning of my adult life and my, I mean, it's like a rite of passage.
Yeah.
But it changed everything. And like I said before, don't mean to beat a dead horse, but we're doing really good.
Yeah.
And and even though the Warrior program, I'll say this to the camera, like, even though like that program was great, we helped a lot of guys, and, all of a sudden it did hit a wall and it failed. And I realized, like, there's greater tragedies. When I say it failed, I just mean like we didn't get enough signups to keep going. I've still got the curriculum. I could launch it again. But right now I get to coach both my little kids in Little League. I get to be present at home every night for dinner. And I love that, because it might not have been.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't have changed things you changed, no way that would have.
So, I think my message, would be like, there's a great reward actually for being honest. And the whole world might tell you that's the dumbest thing ever, to be totally authentic about your deepest, darkest stuff.
Yeah, they totally will.
But when the time is right and you've, I think, walked the bridge of recovery enough that because by the time I told her, I had some real recovery under my belt.
Yeah.
So I would say don't go into those kind of disclosures if you are not, if you haven't done some real work in that area.
So it could be something that sends you spiraling out.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. So anyway, like, it's a message of hope and positivity.
Yeah. So I was a part of a meeting Monday night, very interestingly enough, last Monday night, where a man was confessing, in essence, to the leader of the group. There was about 60 men there. It was on Zoom, something he was struggling with. Basically, it was, he had a couple different adulterous affairs, etc. And basically, bottom line is, about 50% of the men that spoke said you should tell her everything ASAP. The other 50% said, if you tell her at all, you should wait for the best timing and you'll know when. It's interesting that you had the same math there, but at the end of the day, the leader said, look, truth always wins. Truth is always the ultimate gauge for honesty. Obviously, it's pretty much the same thing. And so our ability to do the front end work, as Jeremy has said. So he got into recovery. I did the exact same thing before I told my parents back in the day, 35 years ago, that I was a drug addict and an alcoholic. I had about 2 months of sobriety when I told them. I think it's really cool that you're telling kind of the same story, but at the end of the day, you should also realize that now is the time. It may not be now is the time to tell the whole story, but now is the time to start recovery. There's never a better time than to start your recovery than today, and being honest with your soul, where the Spirit of the Lord is. There you will find freedom. That's what we have to offer you today. Really, at the end of the day, it's hope that is found in the presence of Jesus in your life. It's freedom that is found by the Spirit of God living in your life, and that's what we're always going to offer. First, middle, and last, at the end of the day, these are the things that work. These are the things that bring stories of, even though things really sucked for a long time, for a bit, now look at the shiny side of the story. Look at the other side of the coin. If this wouldn't have happened, I would not have been present with my kids. I would have not been providing for them even better now. I would not have been present with my wife at dinner or my kids. I would not have been able to be on the baseball fields with them. I would not be considering, hey, this is cool. He said before the camera was rolling that maybe now is the time where I can actually fully adjust to reintroducing potentially Warrior Mind, Body, Soul, because I know now how it could be different, more blessed, more honest, more, you fill in the blank there. But so those are the things that happen when we become honest, when we do the work.
I'll add one more thing.
Yeah, let me hear it.
Yeah, so that dark season, now it was a blessed season as well, but right when I told my wife the truth on everything, and you're going to go through a hard time once you do that, just period. Yeah. But I was in the worst shape of my life at the time, 30 pounds overweight, lazy, tired all the time. And within 6 months, 30 pounds lost, best shape of my life easily, way better than right now, by the way, because there was just so much like God-given energy. I can't explain it, but I started getting outside all the time. I realized, like I talked earlier about, your world becomes very small when you're addicted. I was in cars all the time. I was in front of computers all the time. And I realized, like, I need to get outside in nature every day and connect with God's world, and I started to do that, and just breathing fresh air was a completely different experience.
Wow.
I could appreciate things that for 10 years I had forgotten. So you asked me earlier, and I felt weird. I started sweating because, like, I don't have a good answer. Oh, no. But it was a good answer. Yeah. Like, spiritually, how do you live the spiritual life, we connect with God? And I said, first you got to get honest. I just think that's true. I think when God came to Adam, he said, where are you? He wanted Adam to respond. He's basically saying, Adam, get honest.
Pray with us. Pray an honest prayer that you guys could pray with us if you would like. If this is speaking to you about you just getting honest, possibly for the first time, or guess what? Even if it's for the 10,000th time, you're getting honest. And would you lead us in that prayer?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Lord, thank you for this time. Thank you for this podcast, this ministry. Thank you for the great reminder it is to me to stay on point, to stay sharp, to stay connected with you. And just as Tim said earlier, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. And that's what we're after. That's what these men are after. We want freedom in our lives. We want to feel your Spirit working through us, so that life is not just this constant slog and this constant just feeling of, man, I got to go push myself again today, and I just don't feel like it, because your energy is divine. Your energy is our true strength. So Lord, I pray that first of all, you give men, You give the 3 men in this room the vision that you have for their lives, not just for their whole life, but for today, for the next step to take. And that it is a vision of hope. It's a vision to give them a future, the future that you want for them. So God, I pray specifically for the men out there that may have been, moved by my story, and maybe it scares them a little bit. Let them know, God, it doesn't all have to happen in one day. It's a process, but let's take the next step in truth. Let's not waver to the right or to the left, but let's follow and stay in step with your spirit where you're leading that day. And God, I pray that for myself. I pray that for Tim and Stewart and for every man watching, Lord. Once again, God, just thank you for who you are. Thank you that you are the picture of true masculinity. You are the picture of true strength, and you've given us your word. You've given us your spirit. You are the giver of great gifts, even when it looks like all the chips are down, just like for me those years ago. And all we have to do is humble ourselves and submit ourselves and get honest and start from there.
Praise the Lord.
In your name.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you guys so much for listening to and watching this episode of the Stand Up Dude podcast. Jeremy Slayden has been our guest today. And Jeremy, again, thank you for taking the time, coming down. Appreciate everything that you shared with us today. It has been I was impacted. Tim, you were impacted.
I was.
I have a feeling the viewers and listeners
You have
were
been impacted. I can tell.
I can tell. Yeah, you can see there's a different glow about it.
There is.
Yeah,
the most impacted of all podcasts.
Yeah,
you heard it here, right?
There's so much impact.
You heard it here.
But thank you guys. And if you want to reach out to us, you can reach us at podcast@standupdude.com. You can also go to standupdude.com and listen to more episodes. And if you happen to go to standupdude.com/podcast, there is a little orange thing on the side. If you click that, you can leave us a voice message and you can ask us a question. You can tell us what you thought about a show. You can give us your hate, give us your love, whatever you want to do.
The show gets lots of hate.
In any way,
it's a lot of hate.
In any way, if this has affected you, positive, medium, or in a big way, let us know. We would love that. We would love that. We're going to play him here also. So we want to pile them up. You guys go and do that.
Absolutely. Also, share this with a friend of yours. Share it with family. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, can you go on, leave us a 5-star review? We really like those.
Yes, 5
Tell us what you think about it. Tell us what you'd like to see in the future. Yeah. We would also appreciate that. And same for Spotify, any of the platforms, whatever you're listening on, make sure that you go on and give us the reviews. It helps people discover us. Right. It helps us do a little better each time. So thank you guys, and we will see you next time. Thanks. Bye.
Yes.
Like a moth to a flame so drawn.